DraftSociety.com presents a Premier League Draft Fantasy Podcast. Welcome to the Key Pass Collective. Your exclusive source for the information, analysis, and advice you need to dominate your fantasy leagues. Come on in. We've been expecting you.
What is happening, draft heads? Welcome back to the Key Pass Collective. We got a nice, short and sweet episode here for you today. We wanted to jump on and just give you a taste of a couple of unique things, let's say, about our rankings this time around. But first, let me remind you, you're listening to the Key Pass Collective, which of course is the audio companion to the DraftSociety.com. The Draft Society is where you're going to find all of your Draft, Premier League, fantasy football, rankings, stats, articles, opinions, trackers, everything. Just like literally everything. Check it out. In season, we will have player projections, trade advice. We'll have set piece taker trackers, fixture difficulty trackers, all that good stuff. But right now, we have the largest draft kit ever assembled for this game. Get on there, check it out. We have put in probably hundreds of hours of work, and I'm not exaggerating there, to bring you the biggest draft kit ever. It's pretty amazing. There's a couple of different free articles and top 75 rankings that you can get for free, but then everything else is in the draft kit. You'll have full access to that for $15. Or if you want to get the draft kit plus an Inner Circle membership for the entire season, you can get the Ultimate Pass for $60. Check it out. We really do believe there's good value there. Plus, you are supporting an independent fantasy football site, and we really do love and appreciate you, community. You know we do. Okay, so today, I sort of hinted at it, but let's get into the specifics. We're going to talk with the Draft Genie, and the reason we're going to do that is because he wanted a little bit of time just to kind of back up some of his picks. Let's say clear the air maybe on some of his controversial picks. A guy who's kind of gotten known a little bit for having some let's say quote unquote out there picks, but then depending on which one you want to focus in on, end of the season, more or less they come out true. Though not all of them, but we're not gonna rehash history here. What we're more I think concerned of this time, Genie, is just to get your thoughts on some of your most recent rankings and get maybe a little bit of your reasoning behind some players that maybe you're high or you're low on, and then we're going to talk to you just a little bit about trades. But first, my friend, it's been a minute. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Been pretty hectic over here, the usual ones that not hectic, but track season's almost done, summer school's almost done, so some free time to focus in on, what matters, which is fantasy, of course.
Of course, yeah. obviously. That's awesome. You have been banging out like a million articles. Like you've been working your ass off this summer. What have you been excited to write?
So I've just been excited to just get out some content. So I've been doing a lot of the articles like late at night. So, I'm already grinding through some summer school. So, like that's not exciting, but writing about why Mason Mount is not the best asset this year is a lot more exciting. So whenever I have free time, I kind of just like hop in and write some stuff. And I know last year I lacked a lot of content because like we were traveling every week to go run and compete, so I was literally not home at all. So I kind of wanted to make up for that with the draft kit, and I feel that's kind of the big reason I've been writing a lot. Genie's Corner is still one of my favorites. I'm super excited. That's going to be a weekly segment come game week 1.
Nice.
I've also enjoyed reading a lot of our team previews. If you guys haven't read them, check it out. There's a lot of players in there I haven't even considered in my draft. And then there's guys like Gavin and Robbie who went into like West Ham and Brentford that were just released today. And it got me thinking of a couple more players here and there. I won't spoil it for them. But yeah, for sure. I think those are some of the best articles that we have out there. These guys do a ton of digging. Well, all of us are tackling team previews. There's a lot of work that goes into those. It's not easy to just pick, well, three best players is a little easier, but then when you get to the sleepers, that's
Yeah.
when, it really gets you thinking about who you want and who you don't. But great articles, all of those.
Yeah, those have been solid. Those have been fun, and then those are going to, of course, be followed up with predicted starting 11s for each team as well. And let me tell you that I was working on the Brighton one today. I sent you a draft copy of it, and it's just ridiculous. Like, I can't even. Where do you put players in that 11? I don't even.
Yeah, well, honestly, when we release the predicted 11s, I hope the community's a little nice on us because we're doing our best. There's still so much in the air, but we definitely want to release some stuff.
Yeah.
Just to help people out with picking up some late round targets. Someone like, oh, maybe he will start, But
Yeah,
obviously,
exactly.
we can't get inside the mind of Graham Potter.
Oh
So.
God, yeah, who could? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's been cool, and yeah, you've been banging it out, and so have all the guys over there. You and Ryan especially have been writing just a ton, and it's just been kind of cool to see that come together and materialize. And the draft kit has blown me away with how extensive it is. It's just huge. It's massive. So yeah, that's been pretty cool. But anyway, let's get into why we're here. So we just released our newest consensus rankings, our first for the 22-23 season. Those will be updated here in the coming days, but our first version is out now. So if you don't see any players who maybe get signed or who transfer to a different team or whatever it is, that's probably because we're going to be including them when we update the rankings. And if you still don't see them, it's probably because they're not in our top 150. But that's just that's a different story, I suppose. But let's talk about a few of those, Genie, because like I mentioned in the sort of preamble, you've taken some heat, I guess, in the past just for a little of your opinions that are maybe deemed to be a little bit out there. And then sometimes, your opinions, they obviously play out to be completely true. Sometimes they can come back to haunt you a little bit, but hey, that's what opinions are for, right?
Yeah, I always enjoy taking the risky approach. If it bites me later in the season, you know what? I stuck to my guts and it is what it is.
Yeah, plus you do so much trading and stuff that people shouldn't take like all of your risky picks and put those all into like one draft, right? Like, don't do that. Clearly don't do that unless you're going to be really active on trading, really active on the waiver wires, like you are. But like, one or two of these picks might very well pay off and might very well win someone a league. But nobody's recommending that people go out and take every risky pick that you're offering and saying put them all in one team, right?
No, not at all. Like I changed my team like crazy. Like in our little group chat, you know how ruthless I am. I'm like, oh man, this guy's just turned into trash. Drop him. Like that's the way I manage my fantasy teams, just ruthlessness. Unless it's a United player, then they're there for 38 game weeks torturing me.
Exactly.
But
right.
Other
just
than
laughing
that,
at
yeah, you got it. Especially my consensus rankings. Like this is, they're going to change a lot throughout the season. So
yeah,
of course.
Okay, well, let's jump into it. So let's start right away with your number 5 overall player, and pretty much everybody else's either number 1 or top 3 player, Mohamed Salah. And not that that's a lot. I'm just curious, like, do you think that he's maybe going to have a bit of a regression, or are there just other players that you like better this year?
It's a little combination. I think Son is my number 1 far in and far out. Conte is literally just gloating about how great Son is. Everyone is really worried about his rotation, but man, if he falls to me in drafts, I'm going to be super, super happy. He's just a really talented player. He's got a little chip on his shoulder last year after getting a snub from so many awards. So he was an easy number 1 pick. So regarding Salah, though, I still think he's a great pick in the first round. If he fell to me at 4 or 5, like I'd really be thinking about him. in and around there, but he probably won't. The reason for me is like I just feel he's not going to be the go-to guy week in, week out. I mean, he's still going to be on penalties. He's still going to score a boatload of goals, probably contend for the Golden Boot. But when Diaz came in, we did see him fall off a little bit. So I have Diaz ranked 6 for now. That might change, and Salah at 5. I do think they're going to finish pretty close. They're both electric players. Diaz is a little different to Mane, in my opinion, their play styles.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I do think could do a lot more of the ball work that Salah is doing right now. It seems like Mane was like a poacher at times, especially near the end of the season. That's what they turned him into. And Robertson and Diaz formed a tremendous partnership down that left side. So Salah is also missing the World Cup, and a lot of people are, praising that as a huge advantage after his AFCON drop-off. But I honestly put the drop-off more so to Diaz finding some form than opposed to him at AFCON. I do think he might lack a little bit of sharpness when we come back from the World Cup. I mean, he's still going to train and all that, but he's not going to be playing in like super, super competitive games where someone like Kevin De Bruyne, he's going to be the focal point for Belgium. Well, for someone like De Bruyne, that might be a bit risky with his injury history, but for someone like Salah, I'd love to see him play in the World Cup and keep his form going. He seems very much like a momentum player. Like,
definitely,
if he's out of form, he's out of form. So if the World Cup comes at a time when he's out of form, then, ooh, man, I'm not liking the January period for him at all. He's still a top 5 pick. It's not like I'm dropping him down to like 35 or 38 or something like that. But I just think like everyone's saying he's out and out the consensus 1-1. I'm just not there. I think there's 3 or 4 other players who, if you really wanted to, you could take them at 1-1 and they could easily outscore Salah.
Okay. I like that. Well, let's talk about our consensus rank number 6 and your number 16, Joao Cancelo.
Yeah, this I guess a lot of people found this controversial. I just think that City's tactics are going to change. They haven't had a out-and-out striker since Aguero left. And, I mean, Aguero was on the team, what was it, like 2-3 years ago, but he wasn't really on the team. What did he have, like 3 or 4 starts that year? So we're talking about his last good year. So Cancelo has been occupying a lot of the central roles where if you're just watching the game, he's literally just taking shots and, rolling the ball for some incredible key passes here and there for De Bruyne to just fire from 30 yards out, stuff like that. So he's going to have a bit of a different role, more like a fullback role, I think. He's going to get forward, but Kyle Walker is kind of my thinking here. Obviously, Cancelo is the better player in my opinion.
Clearly,
like in Walker's current form. I mean, Tottenham Walker was something special.
Sure.
But now he's fallen off. So but the way City plays with their wingers, like there's just not as much room for him to get that high up the pitch and that central. And they're not going to be letting him go as central with Haaland going to be the main target. I mean, sometimes they're not going to start Haaland. We know his injury risks and history. So there will be times where Cancelo can operate in that central role a little more. But him out on the left, he takes no set pieces as well. So he does rack up some good defensive stats here and there, but I think that's also because he's making all those tackles and interceptions and getting some dribbles through the middle and less so out wide. When teams play against City, a lot of like at least the mid-table teams to low tables, they just park the bus and just try and long ball it forward, that's not going to really suit a wing back for scoring too well. I know there's an argument of some people about, his crosses, and crosses are a better way to score points because you get the 2 points for key pass and 1 point for the accurate cross. But I do feel he's going to be the pass before the key pass. He's going to pass it to, my prediction is Foden on the left, and then Foden's going to do the majority of the work to try and, get in the right position for Haaland or De Bruyne to finish off a chance. That's kind of my thinking. I still put him at like 30 to 33 starts. He started 36 last year. I don't think he quite creeps up to 36. just if Cucurella comes in. So there will be a little bit of a ding there. I do not think he should be taken in the first round. I mean, if you want to take him in the first round, be my guest. More players for me. But I just think that there's more upside elsewhere. Like, I'd honestly rather punt on Phil Foden than Cancelo this year.
Well, I tell you who your rankings say you would rather punt on is Gabriel Jesus. That's an interesting one to me. You have him at 12.
Oh man, yeah. I'm shocked that Ryan didn't have him higher.
I know, yeah.
Honestly,
you're the highest of all of us.
Yeah, it looks like next is you at 16 with Robbie, but I do love Jesus, man. I think the guy's an absolute baller. Like, you could put him on any team, and the dude knows how to play the sport. That's my honest opinion of him. He's going to absolutely change this Arsenal team. He has youngsters like Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli right behind him, just feeding him. Like, he's their main focal point. Arteta says how he can play out wide as well. So he's already hinting that, like, he's going to start no matter who else I start. Whether I want to give Nketiah a chance, and, we'll just toss Jesus out wide and probably bench Martinelli, or give Saka a rest, or maybe try a 4-4-2 or a wing-back system, or who knows. But it just seems this guy's going to be a mainstay in the lineup. We know he could score. I know was on the highest scoring team in the league. But if you watch the way he plays, he is a very, very talented player. And, Pep's been coaching him into that kind of player the last couple of years. Arteta probably has worked with him when he was at City. I'm not 100% sure if they overlap, but I think they did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So, he's already familiar with him. And you saw he's hit the preseason, he's hit the ground running. We can't take preseason like super seriously because Ross Barkley looks like the second coming of Ronaldinho in preseason. But I mean, if it's any indication, Jesus is just hungry for goals. His first touch looks incredible in these games. He just looks like he's so sharp, and he's just finally knows that he has a chance to prove that he can be up there with the best. And the thing about him is he could also create assists. A lot of these center forwards don't really create as many assists, bar Harry Kane somehow just shooting long balls forever. But Jesus is going to rack up, I think, double-digit goals and double-digit assists. So that's why I have him at 12. He might even push himself into Golden Boot contention. I don't know. I think he'll be kind of in like that second pool, like just below, like, Salah, Son, Kane, and then how there's like the drop off and Bruno, somehow always creeps in there. I think he'll be in that kind of second pool for that. So at pick 12, I have him just ahead of St. Maximin, who's a ghost point machine, and ahead of Sterling. I feel like that's hit or miss with our team, Sterling versus Jesus, but I think I'd prefer Jesus over Sterling just because I don't know. I'm just so excited to see him start as many games and see what he could do in the Prem.
Now, okay, so like our draft rankings, at least for me, right? Like, it's not necessarily who I think is going to score more fantasy points over the course of the year, right? So it's what order are you going to take players in a draft, essentially? So I'm wondering, your rankings of Sterling and Jesus, does that have anything to do with like the quote unquote, lack of forward depth this year?
Yeah, for sure. You know that I'm pretty big on trying to get as many forwards as possible in the early rounds, 2 to 3, ideally. So Jesus, especially if you're in the back end of the draft, just based on mocks, and I've already done some leagues, you're looking at Jesus, Nunez, Sterling if people let him fall, and then you're reaching for Ivan Toney. So, like, if you're not taking Jesus in picks 10 to 13, then man,
he's not coming back to you.
Yeah, he's definitely not coming back.
No.
But then you're going to be looking at like Ollie Watkins or Zaha as your forward one. And don't get me wrong, I love both those players, but I want a guy who could potentially, get me 40 plus points on his day. And I just don't think those are those guys.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Yeah, that's interesting. Because you're by far, I think, the highest on Sterling as well, aren't you? Let me see here quick. Oh no, actually, no, you're not. Gavin has him at 14, Robbie has him at 15, and you also have him at 15.
Yeah, again, like I'm okay to reach for Sterling anywhere from pick 10, in all honesty. Him and Jesus are like separated by hairs for me.
Okay.
Like from picks 11 to I'd say 14, 15, it's really, really close. Like they're all interchangeable for me. Any of them could outscore the other, but I definitely you definitely need to go forward in your first pick, or if you're on the turn, then you got to get a forward sometime there. Otherwise, good luck.
So you mentioned Tony.
Yep.
He's at 27 for us, 23 for you. You're the highest on him. I'm wondering, did you not downgrade him after Eriksson left?
So I upgraded Ericsson, but in the rush I did downgrade Tony. When you
Okay,
get the
but you're going
new
to?
batch, oh, he's gonna be in the low 30s. Like
Okay,
that,
all
sorry,
right.
the high 30s, high 30s.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I was wondering if maybe that was just kind of because I did that with a couple players actually.
Yeah.
I think maybe even Eriksson for me. I was going to probably move him down a couple spots, but you said you moved him up.
Yeah,
Of course.
I actually have Ericsson higher than Sancho this year by about 10 spots, I think, 10 or 15 spots in and around there. Um, I don't think he was bought to sit on the bench. He's a top quality player. He worked with Ten Hag during this recovery period after his cardiac arrest.
That's right, because he couldn't play. Yeah, he couldn't train, so he like went across the border, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he seemed to be our number one target. I know Malatia was signed first, but I think Ten Hag looked at Shaw and Tellez and was like, ugh, give me someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But Ericsson was our number one target for sure. And I think we did everything we can. That way Brentford couldn't get him. He's talked about how he could play numerous positions, especially he could play in a pivot, he could play at the 10, and we all know he could play out wide. If we're going to use a system where there's more creativity out wide. Rashford, I think he's got one goal in preseason, but fans are calling for him like, yo, this guy still looks off the pace. And I agree. I watched some of the highlights of the game. Other than his one goal against, what was it, like Melbourne Victory or something, he has not looked good. And I could honestly see Ericsson starting on the right, Sancho on the left, or vice versa, or Ericsson in the pivot if we get rid of McFred, and just to provide something more than Pogba did, which is a little more of that creative passing. I think without Ronaldo, or if he doesn't come back, then Ericsson's going to be given a lot more creativity role, and Bruno a lot more please get us some goals role. So I really think he's going to get most of set pieces. People are like, Bruno. Bruno wasn't taking as many set pieces as people think. It was our left backs taking it, and I don't think Ten Hag is going to stand for having Luke Shaw and Tellez continue to. I don't think Tellez is touching the field.
Please God, not Tellez. Yeah,
but I don't think Luke Shaw is going to be on corners, and we all know how much I love Luke Shaw. Like he's my ride or die. But Ericsson is obviously the more creative player. He's a free kick specialist. He's good at corners. Just let him have it, and that's his floor is going to be huge. You got Maguire to aim at. If Ronaldo does stay, you have him. Ten Hag is going to work some weird magic from the, I don't know, outside of the box. There's just a lot more upside with him than the players I've ranked below him. I mean, like I have Sterling just below him. Like again, I said that's like interchangeable. But then you get into like the Ward Prowses and the Bowens, and I'm not too high on Nunez, to be honest. Then, in all honesty, I'd much rather punt on Ericsson if it came down to that batch of players.
yeah. So we published our rankings on the 14th, which means we had to have had them done before that. On the 14th was when it became public knowledge that Diogo Jota may have re-aggravated a hamstring injury. So what does that do in terms of Nunez for you, or any of those like Liverpool guys?
So Diaz is probably staying at 6 for me. I love Diaz, man. I got him in 2 leagues this year. I'm super pumped.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm hoping I can, but it'll be tough.
In terms of Jota, I was already the lowest. I have him at 33. He's probably going to get bumped down to the 40s. Nunez, I have him at 21, which is just ahead of Ryan at 22, and we're the two lowest on him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I might even bump him down, man. He's looked terrible in preseason. Klopp's saying some weird stuff about like he's running his lungs. It just seems like I don't know, Jota like 3 weeks and then he'll be back. There's going to be a lot of rotation in there. Firmino is still alive and breathing, as it seems, and we know Klopp is a fan of him. I know that he hasn't been in the best form the last year or so, but
Yeah.
he's still.
Toddy was saying this on the last episode, basically saying like, you know how Klopp doesn't really bring in new blood right away. A lot of times he likes to kind of wait and bed them in. And if Jota's really injured, then that means that whoever drafts Firmino late in the draft could have like an absolute gem for at least 3 weeks and then trade him off on like a high.
Yeah, I fully agree with Toddy. And I just honestly think in terms of fantasy, Nunes is going to struggle. He's looked so off the pace in preseason. And like, I don't want to like crap all over Liverpool fans because I love those guys sometimes. But they're all like, oh, it's just preseason. But I remember Sancho last year in the first game, he looked off the mark and like everyone was just ready to call this guy the biggest flop of the year at age like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
Played 20 minutes against Southampton under Ole. It's like, come on, man. Like, you got to treat all the players like that. And they're like, oh, it's just preseason for, Arsenal fans are all like, oh, Jesus is the second coming of literally Jesus. So I don't know. There's got to be some intel in this preseason. He looks so off the pace. He honestly looks like the next Lukaku for me. I'm a little worried. He's someone I'm fully avoiding unless he comes back to me in the third or fourth, which I know he won't. He's someone else's problem. I think he'll score a decent number of goals.
Yeah.
I just don't think his fantasy value is going to be there.
Yeah, it's a weird. If you watch like the replays of it, it's a weird thing. He like looks clumsy almost. It's very strange.
Yeah. He literally reminds me of Lukaku. It's almost identical.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I'm buying into the necessarily that that's going to be the way he's going to play, but it is strange to watch.
Well, I just don't think he's going to score enough goals to make him worth a second round pick, and I don't think his ghost points are going to be there because the way I'm watching him, he does not do enough on or off the ball to rack up the ghost points. I know Firmino is like Mr. Pressing Machine, and so he gets 2 to 4 points week in week out just from his pressing. He loves a good key pass and a no look assists, so he racks up those. I just don't think Nunes is that kind of player. Got like that killer instinct when he's in front of the net,
and he's not going to drop back like Firmino does. So there's not going to be many or any of those defensive stats really. So yeah, I don't know, and I'm not sure how much he's going to be involved in the build-up. That all remains to be seen, I guess.
And 5 subs, I don't think he gets to 90 minutes in any game. That's my honest opinion. If he gets to 90 minutes in more than one game, I'm shocked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, okay, so obviously the one we haven't really discussed is Mount. Do you want to? I mean, because like, and I'm not going to have you give your entire because you've written this out in long form. There's an article coming out. Most people will know if you were around last year that we have what we call a do not draft list, and it's no surprise who's on your list this year. But so we're not going to ruin that article. But give us like your elevator pitch, 30-second, why you're low on Mason Mount.
It's just there's a lot more going on in this new look. I guess you got Sterling who's coming. He's going to be a focal point in my opinion. I hear that there's rumors that they're looking for a new striker, so Kai is going to get some minutes. They're not moving away from this back 3 system. I don't know in what world people are thinking they are, but they got Koulibaly. They're looking at so many other players. I think who's the other one now?
Oh, center backs. Yeah.
Kimpembe, those guys. Chilwell and Reece are ready to go. Mount doesn't perform as well when Chilwell is in the lineup. Less set pieces for him, less spots, more early subs, more chances for him to come on as a super sub. We know Tuchel's not afraid to make a couple halftime changes, so Mount doesn't start, he's coming on at 45 minutes. Of course, you're not starting him from the bench if you are in a good situation with your roster. So you're going to be missing out on some points from there because he could easily get a goal and assist from the bench. And then next week he starts and drops 4.5 points. I just think he's going to be a very frustrating player this year. Less sets, no chance he's on pens. People were saying Mount's on pens because they don't think Jorginho's starting. I don't think there's a chance. Maybe one pen if he's on a hat trick, or it's the 90th minute and everyone else is subbed off, then have at it. But he's a do not draft for me.
Yeah. So would you rather? Oh man, this is like. Would you rather? I'm just looking at your rankings. Like, would you rather Gabriel Martinelli or Mason Mount?
Oof. If Arsenal don't sign another winger, I'm going to say Martinelli. But if they do, then it's Mount by like a hair.
Okay, all right. So that's about the level for you, which will be surprising for some people.
For sure. There's no way I draft Mount in any league. So
yeah. Any other rankings disparities you want to call out before? Because I wanted to talk to you about a few trades that you've done recently.
The only other one was the Thiago one, but I explained that pretty well in Genie's corner. So if people really want my take on Thiago this year, the Liverpool one, then just go read out Genie's corner. I explained that pretty well. Other than that, I think nothing yet. Some will pop up here and there, but not right now.
Okay. The gist of that obviously is that you're much higher on him than most of us are. So check that out if you want more of a rationale behind why Genie likes Thiago this year. Okay, let's talk real quick and then we'll wrap it up about some trading you've been doing, because people don't usually think about this really as much, especially in newer leagues. If your commissioner allows trading of draft picks, especially if you use FAB or free agent budget in your league, and you can also include FAB in the trading of draft picks, there's some really interesting strategy that can take place. Do you want to talk us through what you've been doing?
Yeah, so I'm in 2 leagues that have some members from the community and some not from the community. It's run by the mock draft legend himself,
Chris.
Yeah, I stepped in last year and I really enjoyed the league and the banter with the guys. So I was like, okay, I'll stick around for this year. So in one of the leagues, I accumulated 3 first-round picks. This is the draft currently going on. It's a slow draft. I've collected Kane, Diaz, and Bruno.
How did you do this?
So I was floating around who wants my 100 fab, who wants it, because we're drafting early enough. People are like, oh man, what if a big signing comes? So I traded 100 fab, my round 3 pick and my round 10 pick for a round 1 and 15 pick.
Okay.
I also upgraded my second round pick by 5 spots. And then I got a message, someone's like, oh, do you want another first round pick? I was like, oh yeah, you know me, let's have it. And then he's like, okay, give me your second, fourth, and fifth. And I was just thinking, I was like,
ooh,
okay. So then I got it down to second, fourth, and fifth for his first 6 and 8. So I trust myself in streaming enough.
Yeah.
But I believe having 3 first rounders
seriously
will let me single-handedly just win weeks. Like the first week, Bruno's against Brighton, Diaz against Fulham, and Kane against Southampton. There's every chance they get 80 points by themselves. And then when you get to the 6th and 7th round, all I need is some guys who, on their day they could put up 15, and on a bad day they could put up 6 or 5, right? And just surround them with some clean sheet upside. If you've played fantasy enough, I honestly think, if you have 0 fab, you'll get your pickups. I don't think there's been a league I've been in where my fab has lasted past week 3. 100 is just gone right away. So I've been used to having no fab, and I think you just got to think a little bit outside of the box when you don't have it. So it's oh, you might have to pick up a player a week early. Or,
Sure.
everyone's going on this guy who just dropped like 25 points. What about this guy who dropped like 8.5 2 weeks in a row? I'm going to go for him instead. And then I end up getting him, right? Because he's my top claim. I don't even bother putting in claims for the big guys that I know people are going to get. So you just got to be smart navigating it. But my personal opinion is if you could trade out your 100 fab and some picks for some more elite players, do it. They're EPL proven, they're guys that we've written about, so you could go deep into their stats and numbers and, Draft Lad and Robbie and Gavin, they're really digging into the numbers this year. So you have all that data to use as opposed to guys who have never touched the EPL, who you're hoping that Neymar comes to Man City, so you've collected 500 fab only to use it on Andreas Pereira coming into the player pool late on, who's going to be a 4 ppm player, So I just want elite guys who could single-handedly win me a week, and then I will fill it up with guys who have a little upside. Like when you get to the 6th round, the likes of Thiago, maybe McGinn, Jimenez, there's still decent guys there. And if I'm pairing them with Bruno, Diaz, and Kane, oh man, that's going to be a tough team to beat unless people get injured or, they're really out of form. It comes with that risk that you're relying on those guys to keep the form that we know that they can. But I'd much rather back players who are borderline world class than, Trossard, who had a good end to the year but hasn't really shown consistency in using a 4th rounder on him, as opposed to I gave that up for the chance to get Bruno and Diaz.
So how do you value a certain round? Like what is a 1st round pick worth?
Oh man, it's worth my soul. But realistically, I'm looking at where in the 1st round, because there comes a big drop off, which I think is around 9 to 10.
Yeah.
But I did get Diaz at 10 today, so you never know.
Oh damn.
Like someone took Mason Mount at 6. Oh, my opinion already. So, you will get those things, even in community leagues, even in the Genie League. There's someone who's going to reach. Like I took Sancho pick 2 last year, so
Yep. I do know that.
Best of us, even the best of us reach. So in and around the 10 spot. So the higher up, obviously in the 1st round, the more I'm willing to pay. I'm always willing to throw 100 fab out. That's for sure. For any 1st round pick, 100 fab. And then I usually start by offering my 6th or 7th round. So at that time, we're looking at your, let me think, the Tarkowskis of the world. Maybe if, Jack Harrison slips, or Buendias of the world. So if you're giving
if you're lucky,
100 fab in a 9th round pick who is like Christian Norgard or Declan Rice,
Stuart Armstrong, or Kieran Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, stuff like that for a 1st rounder, then by all means, even a 3rd rounder. So the 3rd rounder plus 100 fab. So I'm giving up my 3rd rounder probably would have got me, looking back at the draft room, it would have got me someone like Antonio or Coutinho. So if I'm giving up Coutinho and 100 fab to get Luis Diaz, I'm doing that all day. 1, the guy plays on Liverpool, not Aston Villa. 2, Klopp loves him, and he's a proven player who can get 40 points.
Yeah, it's true.
Coutinho can, I guess, on his day as well if they're playing Leeds United, but it's just, you just want those upside players. And plus, the worst case, if they hit a bad patch of form, you will still get tons of trade value for them. So having all those players who will still offer a ton of trade value is what you want. Coutinho, on his good day, people are still not going to pay 1st round picks for him. No. But on his bad days, you're getting nothing for him. Diaz, if I offer him out, he's having a bad start this season, I could probably still get myself a James Madison, Saka, potentially type deal, Ward-Prowse, That's always going to be available for one of those 1st round guys, because people are like, oh my God, it's a 1st round guy. They're not doing well. Let me have at it. But
that's a good point.
that's the way I see it. I'm like, okay, worst case, I ship him off for someone who someone picked up in the second round, who looks to be on par, or maybe a little bit better. But if I get a fourth round guy like Zaha in form, we know people are going to be scared. Oh man, he's going to come down soon. I'm not paying that much for him. So that's my thinking too. You're going to get a lot more value out of trades the more elite picks you could collect.
And if you downgrade this even just a little bit, like I also think there is a lot of value to be had in the second and third round this year. And so if you downgrade this even a little bit, like if you're nervous about giving all your fab, so you want to send like 60 fab and like a fifth round pick or something, right? You might be able to pull yourself a third rounder or like even a second rounder maybe. And that to me is still a really good deal if you could pull that off.
Oh man, I'm sending 100 fab plus any pick for some upgrades. Obviously, I'm not going to send someone 100 fab in my third round pick for their third round pick that's 2 picks before me.
Right.
There's really no point. Unless, we're mid draft and then it's a slow draft. I might be like, oh man, Mahrez is there. And then it's either Mahrez or like the drop off to like Harvey Barnes. Let me approach this guy and then we'll get after it. But
yeah.
Before the draft starts, I usually want a 2 to 3 round upgrade at the very worst.
Nice. All right. That makes sense. Cool, man. That was really all I wanted to pick your brain about. Do you have any other like kind of final things you wanted to just get out there for the community?
Yeah, don't be afraid to hop in some mock drafts to get put up some polls on Twitter if you're confused about which player you want to pick. And if when in doubt, come your draft, pick the player you'd rather cheer for, because at the end of the day, if they both crap the bed, you're going to at least be a little happier with, if it came down to round 3 or between Sancho and Jota. As a Liverpool fan, go Jota, because if he craps the bed, at least you could be like, you know what, whatever, it's Liverpool. As opposed to if Sancho, it's like, oh man, I hate United even more now.
Yep, that makes sense.
That's my last little, I guess, tidbit for now.
I like it, man. Well, good. It was good to have you on and hear your voice again, my brother. Listeners, thank you so much. It's been amazing. Another fantastic episode in the books. A quick little short one, which I really enjoyed, actually. We're going to try to do more of these and get some more of these out to you. Just little quick hitters that you could maybe listen to over a lunch break or on a run or whatever it is. So hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you ever have any questions, hit us up on Twitter. Send out, like Genie said, make a poll, send it out. We'll retweet it. Trade questions, draft questions, whatever it is. We'll get the conversation started and send it out into the community. So we're here for you. If you need us, just let us know. It's been a good one. Take care. Cheers.